on a game day, we only will bring in an Eagles Hall of Famer to discuss the team. His name is Trey Thomas, and he joins us right now. Once upon a time, a big radio superstar in this town. What's up, Trey?
Hey, what's going on, man? How's everything going?
What do you got
Good
behind you?
to you all.
Do you have a professional setup back there? What do you got behind you, man?
I'm just sitting up in my basement. You know, those are my game balls behind me. You know, so yeah. So it's just I'm just down here in the basement, hanging out, doing some reading, hanging out, waiting to jump on with you.
Oh, this is amazing. All right, well, it's great to talk to you. So I want to know, because I didn't actually hear you after the season last year, and we know how everything ended. As a guy that's been in the league and has seen coaches fired, has seen guys leave, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, the way that the season ended, the reporting after the season that there was issues in the locker room with Nick Sirianni and with Jalen Hurts and their chemistry. How do you look at the way that the season ended last year? Like, how problematic was the way that it ended, and does that have a carryover effect into this year?
I don't think it has a carryover. It was definitely disappointing to see that this team was just on such a high, you know, throughout the season. Just the way things just fell apart at the end, you know, it just collapsed, you know. And I think that, you know, Coach Sirianni, he's going through his growing pains as well. First time as a head coach, you know, he's figuring it out as well on the fly, you know. And I think that that's some of the stuff that you're going to go through. But I think that as far as the team is definitely not going to carry over to this year. Every year has its own vibe. So I think that that's something that was definitely handled over the off season. And then you just move on from there.
Do you, after, because I think a lot of people, Trey, don't remember after 13 weeks, Jalen Hurts was viewed as the MVP favorite. And he was playing at a tremendously high level. And then by the end of the year, people are like, oh, man, do you look at Hurts any differently at the start of this year? I mean, teams started blitzing the Eagles. Teams started, and they had no answer. And I look at that as more coaching than player. But still, there's a book out there now on Jalen Hurts. If you pressure him, in particular up the middle, he leaves the pocket. He's looking at the rush. He's not looking downfield. That's everything that you saw starting with that San Francisco game. Are you a little bit worried that maybe the league has figured out Jalen a little bit?
Well, I mean, I think that's what people, it's a copycat league anyway. So, you know, if whatever worked the week before, a team is going to try to bring that same little system back again. They're going to keep testing you until you pass the test. So I think that, yeah, you knew that if you came with a zero blitz and you made that one of the tackles have to go into a dual read, if you caught them in man protection and you sent that one extra guy, it was going to be a problem. So, you know, that's some of the things that I think also as an offensive staff that you have to make those corrections over the offseason. That's one of the things that you need to focus on. Hey, these are the things that we really need to correct. When you go back and you watch all the film and you do all the self-diagnosing and just watching everything and just evaluating yourselves, you have to say, okay, you know what, this was a problem and we need to make sure that we correct it.
Jason Kelce retires. Everybody else is still there. Right guard still kind of a question mark. Cam Jurgens slides over. Now he's the center. How big of a loss is Kelce? And continuity on this offensive line has been so good for so many years. But are you concerned at all with the offensive line with Kelce departing?
No, I'm not. You know, I think that Cam is up to the task. I think he's going to step in. He's a very extremely smart player. And I think that that's one of the things that's unique about this offensive line. I know that you have someone different that's going to be stepping in at right guard. But before that, all three of those interior guys were centers. So it wasn't, I don't think it's going to be that much of a drop off when you have Cam out there. He understands when it comes to calls and making those type of points and getting everybody on the same page. So I don't see it being a major drop off.
Were you watching the game last night, Trey?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of the league? Obviously, point of emphasis. You see this a lot in the first couple weeks of games or the first week of games. The illegal formation, which I felt like was called 3 times in that first drive on Ronnie Stanley. So week 1, and we know Lane likes to get a little bit of a head start there. Maybe that's another point of emphasis. But what did you think about the officiating last night on that particular call?
I thought thought that there were a lot of penalties right out the gate. And of course, I watched the game because I spent training camp out in Kansas City this year. So Coach Reed had me come out and I worked with the offensive line all training camp this year. So I know I'm very familiar with JT, Trey Smith, and all those guys, because even Kingsley, I did a lot of work with him, getting him up to speed during training camp. So I had a blast out there working with those guys. But you knew that JT, the right tackle there, he's the type of guy, he's going to play back a little bit. And he moves a lot during his cadence. So that's something that was a point of emphasis, making sure when we had the referees come out there during training camp, that was one of the things that they kept harping on, making sure that your head needs to break the waistline of the center. Now, before, we would always try to, all right, I'm going to get legal, and then I'm going to back up, at least get at least 2 warnings. These referees weren't playing. They were just letting the flags fly.
How long? I forgot. You were out last year to training camp with Andy. I forgot.
No. I went back in 2021. And
all right, so it was a couple years
back
ago.
Out this year, man. It was, watching Patrick Mahomes in practice, man, this cat, he is probably hands down the most creative quarterback I've ever seen. Just how he extends the plays and gets rid of the ball. I mean, he's it was awesome to just watch him practice. But we about the Eagles now. You know what I'm saying? But it was fun just working out there, working with the guys. I was out there for about a month and a half working with their offensive line.
Were you? All right, so Eagles in a second. You mentioned Pat Mahomes. You have Travis Kelce, who is now one of the most known people in the world. But what was the whole thing like? What was the atmosphere like? They're coming off a Super Bowl. We know Andy. What was it like with everything?
Well, the fan base there, I mean, because they having training camp that's kind of like a Lehigh version.
Andy still
of
likes
Lehigh
that.
out there in Missouri. It's a very small little college town that we were at. And, I mean, the fan base was out there at every game. Like every game, every practice had at least probably about 200 or 300 fans out there. It was a pretty nice following out there for every practice. And it was fun, It gave me a chance to, put what I taught to the test, and I just enjoyed just being out there and being back in the trenches. I like coaching, man. I like being in the trenches. So whenever I get the opportunity to get out there and put it to work, I take it.
Thoughts on the defense this year, and then we'll talk about the game coming up in a second. But thoughts on the defense this year. I had said last year, and I don't think that they did a good job with the coordinator. With the coordinator job last year with Desai and then with Matt Patricia coming in and running a totally different defense than what he's normally calling. But this is a players' league. And if you don't have talent out there, you're going to struggle on defense. Good defenses are going to give up in the 30s some weeks. It's just the league's designed to score points, right? And the one thing I worry about with this defense is getting to the quarterback this year. Hassan Reddick, who's unbelievable, he's holding out, are the Jets, but he had been really good the last 2 years in getting to the quarterback. They bring in Bryce Huff. They have Josh Sweat. Jalen Carter's going to need to become a dominant player if this defense is going to be anything other than maybe a little bit above average. But I worry about getting to the quarterback. But Vic Fangio comes in, and he's going to give you a professional job as being a defensive coordinator. But how good do you think this defense can be and will be? And can it be good enough based on their personnel that they have?
Well, it's going to be interesting because one of the things the first thing I did when I got back is I'm like, all right, let me go back and watch some of these preseason games because I know the starters didn't get a lot of work this offseason. I mean, during the training camp, that's kind of how the Eagles do it. The starters aren't going to get much run. But I just felt like you still just didn't see the rush that you needed to see. I don't know if they were trying to keep it vanilla. They didn't want to show any special moves during this period, but you want to see a little bit more pressure on the quarterback, and I didn't see that during these preseason games. So of course, that's you have to get to the quarterback to kind of create some type of pressure because you can't have your secondary back there trying to cover these receivers for more than 2.5, 3 seconds.
No doubt about it. All right, game tonight. Would you have liked to go to Brazil? I know you're very focused on every play and every block that you're making, but it didn't seem like that the players were all that excited about staying in the hotel for a couple games in Brazil.
Yeah, it seems like the guys were kind of like, man, really, we're going somewhere and we can't even leave the hotel. But It seems like, from all the stuff that I've been seeing that the fans have been reporting, it seems like it's been a really good time, good experience for the fan base to be down there, and everybody's been tweeting out all the videos of everything that's going on there. It seems like it's been a good time. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is a business trip. You know, if you want to go to Brazil and hang out, go during the off season. But right now, you got work to do.
Yep. All right. So, what do you think of the game tonight? Listen, Packers ended the season a lot better than the Eagles did. That's for sure. But I almost feel like that gives the Eagles the advantage in the opening week.
Yeah, you know, you saw the Packers came out there and they played their starters on the first game. You know, and you saw Jordan Love go out there and he only had like probably a 3-play drive, dropped the bomb on him. He was efficient. It looked nice, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it was a preseason game against the Cleveland Browns. You know, it's just so much, it's a big question mark at what this team is going to bring just because you haven't seen them. You know, so I'm hoping that this team comes out on fire and ready to go. You know, but we'll see. You know, there's a lot that's just up to question. It's going to be, how is this offensive line going to protect Jalen Hurts? You know, you got you know what? Because I want to make sure I pronounce his name correctly. Is it Micaiah? How you pronounce his name?
Who we talking about?
The right guard from the Jets.
Oh, Mekhi Becton.
I want to make sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly. How did you say it?
Becton. Mekhi Becton.
Yeah.
Listen, if he plays well, we'll know how to pronounce his name. So let him earn that.
Okay, so he'll earn that. Because, I mean, you're going from left tackle, and now you're bumping him down to right guard. And being a right guard for this offense is a little different because you're the one that's in charge of the silent count. You have to turn around. You're touching the center. The timing of all of that is a lot to take in. So it was good to see him at least get some run in the first game just so he can go through the mechanics of that and get some live, some full speed action of that. But it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to being inside because it does come at you a little quicker when you're bumping down the guard.
Is this an Eagle win tonight? And do you believe this is an NFC East champion? Like how good are the Eagles this year? Are they top 3 in the NFC, and you expect them to be right there at the end of the season?
I don't know. We haven't seen anything. I haven't been to any practices. I have no idea. I can't wait to see this game because this will answer a lot of questions. I think on paper, when you look at it on paper and you say, okay, when you look at our receiving core, you got AJ, you got Devontae, you even bring in Dotson, a new receiver, a receiver out of Washington. You got a good tight end. You got one of the top offensive lines in there. You bring Saquon Barkley in. You know what I'm saying? With the big thighs, big running back. You know, you got one of the top cornerbacks that you drafted. I think that, you know, on paper, this team looks amazing. But, you know, we're going to have to see. I mean, once the rubber meets the road, we're going to see tonight.
Yeah, you're right. So Trey, very busy, of course. Your son Jake's going to be going to Lafayette. I saw that he accepted a scholarship. Congratulations with that. Just so you know, Trey. My grandfather went to Lehigh, so I've been to many Lehigh Lafayette games. That's a big rivalry up there. So you'll enjoy that. But congratulations. How's it feel with your son taking the offer?
Hey man, that was so awesome. I mean, you know, just taking this off season and being able to do all the college tours and everything, man, it was just a really cool experience. We really enjoyed it. We did probably 10 to 12 schools this spring, just visiting different universities, man, and we had a blast. You know, when he was on spring break, we just did like a whole week road trip of just bouncing to different universities, man. It was cool. And then once Lafayette stepped to the plate, I really like the coaches there. I like the offensive line coach there. I like what they're doing. I was able to sit down with the coach and let's get the film clicker because, you know, I'm really big on now I'm going to release my son to you. So please, you know, just, you know.
It's got to be intimidating. Tyler Zulli is with me today. It's got to be intimidating that you're coming in and he's the offensive line coach. And meanwhile, you're the multi-Pro Bowler, Eagles Hall of Famer. And I've been with you. We did post-game shows for the Eagles before. And man, you're timing the snaps during the game. Like you have a lot going on that you're paying attention to. So yeah, you're probably pretty intimidating coming in. You want to know exactly what the program is, what their teaching style is, and everything else. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I want to sit down and watch film with you. You know what I'm saying? Like any of the coaches, I'm like, hey, man, And then it was so hard going to some of these trips because we're going during their spring practices, and I'm on the sidelines, and you just want to get in there. And, and I messed around and went to Temple's practice, and I was like, man, I was out there like I was one of the coaches, just giving technique, and but I had a blast, man. It was such a fun time, and I'm really proud of my son. He did what he was supposed to do, and he earned a scholarship, and then now we're off and running. So now he's in his senior year now at Shawnee. He got hurt in the first game, sprained his ankle. He's down for a couple of weeks, but it's all good. It's cool.
Well, congratulations. I'm thrilled for you guys.
Appreciate it.
It's amazing. Also, so if you want to hear more of Trey's analysis, and he'll have a lot of it out there, you can follow him on social media. It's at 72 Trey Thomas. But also, and I was watching this last year. You and Todd Harriman's between the vines 7279. That's how you find it on Instagram. So Trey, who a lot of people may not know, he's a Renaissance man. All right, one of the smarter guys that I've ever met. But he loves wine. He loves art. He loves nature. He'll just go out into the woods and he'll be painting a squirrel and an acorn and a tree or something like that. He'll bring it in. Like, what is going on here? You and Todd, it's a pretty fun show. Tell us a little bit about the show. It's you guys talking Eagles and drinking wine, right?
Yeah, man. We just bounce around to different wineries. We last year we just started it. Of course, being offensive linemen and just old friends. We just we were like, hey man, you know what? Let's go do a show. Let's go just pop up at some wineries and start talking football and drinking wine. And that's what we did, man. We just pounced around to all the different wineries in the tri-state area, man, and just really had a blast, experienced some of the different wines and just checked out a lot of different wineries. And, it was a really cool experience. This last episode, we were able to, because I went out to Westchester. My middle son, Tristan, he's at Westchester. He's playing football now. Yeah. So I went out there and was out there working with the offensive line coach out there at Westchester. And so we did our show this time at Limoncello's, one of my favorite restaurants that I go to every time I go to Westchester. So, man, what I like about it is that we just got to get together, go experience some different atmospheres, sit back, drink some wine, enjoy being outside or wherever we are. And just talk a little birds, man. It doesn't get any better than that.